You ready to do this thing?
Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sweaty Casuals, brought to you by the Snowflake Sanctuary Discord server. This is the podcast where we like to talk about the games we love to play from A to Z, along as well as our thoughts on the newest sensations and everything in between. My name is Zach. My co-host here is Nox, and we'll be your guides as we traverse low hell. Small reminder, we do swear, so your discretion is advised. Today we're joined by Bandito, who has some accolades that we didn't put in our note sheet, and we're going to talk about so many, and we're going to be talking about Titanfall 2, because someone finally played it!
Yay, I played it! I did it! In 2 days. Probably one day, if I would have just actually stuck it out at 2 a.m. when there was 20 minutes left. And I went to bed.
You didn't know. And it's better that you didn't have any surprises ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Our icebreaker for today. What is your favorite loadout?
Did we say what game we're talking about?
Titanfall 2.
Perfect. I didn't know if we said it or not. I was like, oh, we're getting into it. No one knows what we're talking about. Sick. Titanfall 2. Favorite loadout. There's one correct answer. Can I share? Can I go first?
Go right ahead.
Okay? It's the tone one. It's the second one you get. That is the only correct answer. That thing is useful in every single scenario except for one in which you do have to switch off when you fight the Viper. Because hitting those shots in midair is kind of tough. But it's the only correct answer.
What about you, Bandito? What do you think?
So that is acceptable. Tone, I understand. I'm playing through it now because in preparation I was redoing it, having a grand old time. I never switched off of Ion. I was having so much fun with it. I didn't have to think. I just, hey, there's a guy shooting at me there. I'm going to hit him with everything in my arsenal and then not think about him, and I'm good. It was done. Until I got Legion. Legion's fun. Even less thinking, believe it or not. You just point in the direction of them and you win. Great.
I like Scorch. I think Scorch. Yeah, like Scorch you can do a lot with, but you gotta get the arcs right and everything. That said, Legion is probably. I wish I got to play the campaign with it more because Legion's awesome.
Remind me, Legion is the minigun, correct?
That's the minigun, yeah.
Correct, with smart lock-on.
I will say that one is useful when you roll into the final battle and there's like 7 of them. Like that, you kind of need it. Like I did play with it there, but the minute you get through that part, I was like, all right, back to Old Faithful. I played the final boss battle with Tone. I do like that they're all viable.
Yes.
Like not like there's definitely better ones, but
I was gonna say Ronin felt weak to me. I couldn't get much value out of it.
Yeah, there are a couple. I feel like some of them definitely, if you have a certain play style, they play really well. Is Ronin the one with the sword?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
that's Ashes.
Yeah, and it is viable. Like you can do things with it. It's just you have to play a certain way, and I don't play that way. You guys don't seem to play that way. So, we've had this episode on the docket for so long.
Since the podcast started. Got thrown out.
And I don't even know how to start this conversation in a smart way. Because it is just... Titanfall 2 is such a hidden gem in so many ways. Can I just start by saying we all thoroughly enjoyed it?
Yeah, we could kind of kick it off with our thoughts.
Do we want to start? Let's start with just the mechanics, because like you get put into the game, you start off, and you have to do the gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
And you just
how many times did you run it? I think this says a lot about you as a person. How many times did you run it?
I've run it at least 150 times.
I didn't stop until I got above Lassimosa.
Which I still need to do.
I ran it twice and said, that's good. It's just Apex. I got it.
So when you're playing the game for the first time, like it's definitely worthwhile to just be like, okay, cool, done it. But there is
Yeah.
a achievement for beating the fastest time on there.
There's no way you can kill everybody and beat that fastest time.
It is possible.
It's like 25 seconds.
Oh yeah. You can use grenades to propel yourself and kill people at the same time.
Oh, that's lit.
So you just get faster.
Oh yeah, the movement in the game and just overall is phenomenal.
Mm.
It's Apex on steroids.
Oh yeah.
You and I
When
had
we
a
were-
brief conversation earlier.
Yeah, we were talking about
And-
it earlier, and I was raving about the wall running ability.
Hmm.
I think that is probably one of the strongest points, which I don't think anyone disagrees on, and with the amount that they use it. Like they knew it was a good part of their game, which is why it's in almost every level and necessary to complete a lot of things. The funny thing was, the conversation took us to about 5 minutes later. We're still chit-chatting about this game because I had just finished it maybe 5 hours ago. So when I finished it up,
Give or take.
and yeah, and Zach said, "Oh, this all Respawn also did the Jedi games."
Yep.
And I totally forgot that they were the studio behind Fallen Order and Survivor, which is great. Except why did we pick up the new wall running mechanic then? We should have just kept Titanfalls. Because the Jedi one is kind of ass. Anyway.
The Jedi one doesn't stick in quite the same way.
Nope.
It feels clunky.
You really have to kind of push into the wall.
Or this one, you're just up there and you're gliding. Gliding forever. Double jump. There are so many jumps in that game that I had to let the ghost run it first because I was like, there's no way that's correct. I cannot get that much air. Sure can.
Yeah.
I do like how impossibly large the map seems. And then you cross the entire thing in like half a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. That's fun.
The map design was really clever in a lot of ways. I was a little bit disoriented. I thought it was a little the very first level of the game.
Yep.
When you're trying to retrieve the batteries for BT. I thought it was kind of funny how you have to go on this long journey to get to the ship. Then you have to traverse the ship, which was really confusing. I got lost in there a few times. But you have to traverse the ship. And then when you leave the ship, it's like 2 seconds to get to BT. I was like, why didn't we take this route the first place? And then to make it even better, the second battery you have to go get, the game does the same thing. You go on this long journey to get there. And then you just wall jump a couple times and you're back. I'm like, why did we not just do that the first time?
It's good. It's good. It's not just good map design. It's good storytelling, which we'll come back to that.
100%. I would rather do that than retracing my steps, because that would have been awful. Or B, like, I don't know how else you do it then. I guess you could like black the screen and take you back and say, oh, you traversed it, you got back, which like is viable, I think.
Gross.
But
yeah.
it just felt a little, I was like, oh, we're back. How weird. I was ready for this long trek back. Nope. Not.
I think the other thing to mention though is like your ability to function both as a pilot and in your Titan.
Mm-hmm.
So how familiar are you guys with Titanfall 1?
Not.
A little. I played it for
A little.
bit.
Okay. So Titanfall 1 came out, I think it was like 2 years before?
Give or
roughly?
take.
Give or take. And it didn't, actually, no, it might have been, it should have been before that. But point being, it actually would be helpful.
2014.
But the really
2 years.
Really, it was that late? Okay. Anyway, point being, when Titanfall 1 came out, it didn't have a campaign.
Well, it told its entire story in the top right corner of the multiplayer game. A little bitter about that one. I was expecting a story, and that's what I got.
And that's not to say that the first one was awful. Like, it definitely had some fun-ish moments to
It's
it.
okay.
but like it was built completely around the multiplayer experience. And if I recall, there were some conversations about balancing pilots versus Titans.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah. Whereas in this, like, at least in the story, I'm not going to speak to the multiplayer. Bandito, you can probably speak to it a bit more. In the story mode, it feels like there's a very nice balance between the Titan doesn't feel invincible, but it doesn't feel overpowered. Like you feel like you can still just hop out and do things.
Sure.
I thought you meant overpowered compared to everyone else on the battlefield, to which I said, you ever mowed down some of the bad guys with one of those things? They just fall over.
They do. And I'm
They're
not
just
saying
plinking you in the back and you turn around and go, pew! They're
Not
gone.
hopping in your
multiplayer.
Titan is like the greatest pleasure of the game, but it's, I shouldn't say it, one of the greatest pleasures of the game, but it is also like the fact that you can just be like, I'm going to play this like a more traditional shooter and still have a lot of fun and enjoy myself. Like that's not an easy thing.
I did enjoy the agency it gave the player to make the game what they wanted it to be. Like, yes, there was a main story and certain levels and certain bosses you had to fight, but I was watching, so to give you a timeline, we're recording this on a Friday night. Wednesday night was when I played 5.5 hours of the campaign. Last night, I was over at my boyfriend's house. Also, it's not going to be on sale when this episode comes out, so don't take my word for this. It is $5 on Xbox currently.
It does go on sale fairly often.
Really
So-
often.
So I convinced him to get it because I was in love with it after one night. So then I spent last night watching him play his campaign. So I've seen this game through two people's eyes now, at least. And it was very interesting, the entire sequence going through the, what is it called? It's after BT gets picked up by the crane. And you have to go through the assembly line.
Okay.
Yep.
And when you're on the back part of the assembly line before you go up to Ash's simulation, there's a whole part where if you just stayed on the assembly line, you really didn't have to leave.
Really, no?
You didn't have to fight anybody. If you just stayed with the assembly line and took cover and took shots when they would get close, you could fight minimal people and just kind of let the game happen around you. So that's what I did, because I thought that was the correct way to play it. Now, that's always relative, but that's how I was choosing to play it. When I watched my boyfriend play last night, every time he could get off that assembly line and go shoot bad guys, he was off. He probably killed everybody in that place. So I was very impressed with the amount of agency and the amount of different ways to play the game. Even when we got up to Ash's simulation, I stayed on the platform the entire time and just shot at the people coming at us. I watched my boyfriend traversing this entire thing, running around, picking up different stuff. I was like, I didn't even know that gun was in here. I think he picked up a charge rifle at one point. And I went, I didn't know that was in this game. I never came across one. So
I think it's the old charge rifle too.
Yeah, the better one.
no, it's not. It's the
Oh, is
new
it the new
one.
one?
Yeah, they
Oh.
changed it for Apex. I made him pick it up and shoot it so I could see. And it's the new one. It's the one where you have to charge it up first and then you
Charge
should
up
shoot it
first,
off.
okay. I didn't play with the old one in Apex, so.
Neither did I.
So fun. So fun for no reason. Stat patter right there. But I could go on and on about watching the two of us play and the differences we took. There was, when we get to the closer to the end of the game, there was a very funny thing that I didn't figure out, and the level became 10 times harder because I didn't understand what was going on. But we can get there.
So I guess probably the next thing to touch base on, and it's the thing that I think catches everyone off guard. So Titanfall 1 was based around multiplayer. Titanfall 2 still has a very passionate multiplayer base who plays that from time to time. Meaning those people seem to have started at launch and never stopped since. Bandito, you played a little bit of that.
I touched on it.
How was that experience?
So I have never been more infuriated. Not because my skill was in question, but because other people were at 300% at all times, everywhere. A big issue that they had going through, especially in the early days of Titanfall 2, was hackers. They made the game suck for everybody. I kind of found a way around that. I created a small private server I played with a few friends. That makes the multiplayer bearable. After that, it's fun if you can get over the hackers. When I played 2 years ago, it was good. It was comfortable. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot more fast-paced than the campaign. You have to be already at the next step of where you're going, or you're dead. You're gone. You have no cover. You're shot in the ground. So it does take a little bit of... There's a learning curve. Once you pass over it, it's really fun. I don't think there's another multiplayer I can have as much entertainment value out of. If you can get over the hackers.
If you can get over the hackers, well.
Yeah.
Sounds like Overwatch at this point.
Worse. Every other lobby. If you just played on normal multiplayer, every other lobby you'll have at least one. Because they didn't do anything to fix it. They just left it to fester.
Nox, correct me if I'm wrong. Apex has issues with hacking still. Quite a few, doesn't it?
It's a weird... Apex has always been a weird environment for hackers because I think a lot of it for a long time has been a little bit swept under the rug because they do very publicly use easy anti-cheat to combat cheaters. And I think it was one of those things that they were able to kind of put band-aids on bullet holes to things that were happening and people that were getting in and hacking. It was still, what was that, 3 months ago, 4 months ago now, when people got hacked during like the national tournament for it or the international tournament for it.
Yep.
Which we did a whole episode up. And, we'll put it up in the top.
A while ago. But I think that was a huge wake-up call. So I don't think I know enough to draw conclusions between the two of them, because one of them does run easy anti-cheat and one of them does not.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that amount of protection that I'm assuming is there as a player that I don't expect to have in Titanfall, if I were to go play that. So Apex, yes, probably. I think every online multiplayer game is going to have issues with it. I don't think there's a good way around it or a perfect solution for anything. I do like to think of Apex as a pretty fair game to play. I think I'm way more likely to run into people that just haven't played the entire ranked season and are now trying to rank up their account 3 months into the split. And I'm in gold 3 and they are too, and they should not be here. Like I'm way more likely to think those people are hacking than the people that I think actually are, to be so honest.
I will agree with that. I just, I think you and I have both mentioned at one point that Apex should have death games.
Yes. I think that is one thing that also helps them sweep it under the rug, because you don't know.
Oh, yeah. And you can't confirm it. There's no replay in any way, shape, or form.
And to be so honest, anyone can have a good flank route and nail you in the chest with one mag of an R99 and you're dead, which can feel very much like hacking. But to be honest, it's a spray and pray gun, and every once in a while that prayer is answered. So like,
GG, get wrecked.
Yeah, like it's probably a 12-year-old who just got home from school. Like, it is what it is.
Truth hurts.
There was a off topic a little bit on that. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It was a funny TikTok I saw the other day. Where it was that exact kind of phenomenon where it was a girl playing two sides of the same act, or two sides of the same in a situation, and the first scene is like 12-year-old threatening me to get off Mercy, who's been playing this game for 3/4 of their life, and then it's the other person, and it's me just trying to relax after work, shaking, which is the experience every day. Back to Titanfall. Thought that was applicable. I'll send that to you both at some point.
I think the thing that that gets most people, and why it is such a shocking experience though when you play through the campaign. Titanfall 1 didn't have a campaign. Titanfall 2 came out and nobody had any high hopes for this campaign.
Because Respawn didn't have a name. It didn't
Respawn
matter.
didn't have a name. They were an unknown-ish company. Like, what? Okay, they're gonna make a story mode. Cool. And it came out in an era like 2016. We're well into Halos. We're well into
It got
Call of Duties.
sandwiched by 2 other big games. So
It
even
did.
on launch, they weren't popular. They were
weren't.
not the ones that people went to initially.
And I want to say one of them was a Call of Duty game and one was a Battlefield game.
I think so. That sounds right.
Do you want to look into that real quick?
Actively.
Cool. But point being, if you look at both of those franchises, those are games that also have campaigns. And the campaigns are not the part that people play. They're not the things that people talk about.
Usually.
People play through it once, and then they go, cool, now I'm going to go play multiplayer.
Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. It was smack dab in the middle of them.
And this campaign just absolutely nailed it. Where do you even start discussing that? I mean, actually, I know where
protagonist.
You start with Cooper. Cooper's a good protagonist.
Jack Cooper, some AI generated name that doesn't really matter, but he's got personality.
With an AI generated white man.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But it's Matt Mercer.
It is Matt Mercer, which I did not know until I finished it today, which is crazy.
And he
I
kicks
love that
ass.
man.
For anybody who's not familiar with him, he's the same guy who does Cassidy in Overwatch, and he's on Critical Role.
You didn't know that?
You didn't know that?
Oh my god, yeah. If you watch him during Critical Role, they'll try to get him to say it's high noon all the fucking time. It's phenomenal.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been playing Overwatch since 2017. Cassidy is arguably one of my favorite characters.
It's Matt Mercer.
Yeah, it is. It is 100% Matt Mercer.
Wait. No, it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he does such a good job with Jack. He really, really does. It's such a simple thing, but like his interactions, every single one of them, I love how they're choices for the most part.
Oh,
You have to
BT and
choose
him
to
got
say
so
something to
much
BT.
sass.
Yeah.
And
love
it's
it.
wonderful that you have to choose these voice lines, and they become part of the character to you.
Mhm.
You really get to embody them, and then yeah, naturally you have to step to BT next. What a
BT
phenomenal
Oh
character!
god, 7274.
7274. I fully believe put likable droids / robots / mechs that you can turn into Legos after in any video game franchise or movie franchise, to be so honest, and you have a winner. Like, it's gonna win. Like, I played this game once. It took me 6 hours. I have an off-brand Lego BT set coming on Monday. Like, no.
I get that though. I feel that so
It was
much.
$30. What am I supposed
On
to do?
TikTok.
That's a yes.
I just bought it.
That's-
Jeff Bezos is bringing it to me
That-
on Monday. So
That would do it too.
Oh,
I've got
yeah,
one
okay.
that I'm looking at through TikTok. Same thing. I want it. I can't wait.
he's gonna sit on my desk. He's gonna be so cute. Or he'll be a little trinket on my bookshelves. It'll be great. Like him, it is genuinely, I think maybe it pulls on the same heartstrings that like Star Wars fans have of like, that's why you love R2D2. That's why you love C3PO. That's why you love BB-8, whatever your era. K2SO. He reminded me a lot of K2SO, which I really
Yeah.
enjoyed because K2SO
Yeah.
is my favorite. Not to like jump ahead of the campaign, but I haven't been this emotionally attached to a side character in forever. I was sobbing at 2 a.m. in this chair playing that game. They had me. They had me wrapped around wrapped around their finger. They knew what they were doing.
I think the bigger thing is like whenever you talk about impactful characters, you need to look at their character arc. So you have Cooper. He starts off, he's not a pilot. He's just a guy who wants to be a pilot and is getting some training from somebody. And Lacrimosa's training him?
Yeah.
Lacrimosa?
Lacrimosa. Thank you. What's Lacrimosa? Is that
I don't know.
series of unfortunate
Gibberish?
Lacrimosa, and what a short, simple character that just jumpstarts everything.
I knew
It's
that
this
man
one
was
guy
gonna
who says,
die.
Oh,
I
you
have
could,
hope.
you could see the writing.
But it's just that little bit of I have hope in you.
Oh
and
yeah.
just immediately sends Cooper onto his journey. And you get to see Cooper go from somebody who's like, I want to be a pilot, but I don't know if I can be, to being a pilot.
Quick
And then you
spoiler
have
alert.
BT.
Quick spoiler alert. Lacrimosa fucking dies.
Yeah. That man's dead.
Executed in
That man
front of us.
Dead.
In like the first 5 minutes.
Immediately.
Oh yeah, we jumped out of this simulation. Dude goes, "All right, I'll see you down there. We might die on this planet today." And I said, "You sure are." Yeah. Yeah. Of course you are.
But
I have an
then
emotional connection, and you said you were gonna die. Probably.
the next, like, the BT's arc is also just wonderful because
Mhm.
it goes from this, I need to do my job, to I need to help Jack. And there's so many little moments that build into that slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what makes his arc so compelling. It's what makes that ending so impactful. I love it. And some of it's simple things. You know, I need to complete the mission. How do I get Jack from here to there? I'm gonna throw
Fucking
you.
toss him.
Fastball, motherfucker.
Trust me, Cooper.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
That's so good.
I love how they
And
set
that
up
line ends up coming
protocols.
back and comes back. And every time it does, the stakes are higher. And it's
Mhm.
not, it goes from, I just need to complete the mission, to, I need to complete the mission and take care of you, to, I just need to take care of you.
Oh, it's beautifully written. I think that's one of its strongest points. It is a beautifully written story.
It's gorgeous.
Like, you can have great plots with great character arcs that keep coming back and giving you more as you play. But when the dialogue and the voice actors also back up what that is, like that, it turns into something special. Like BT and Jack's relationship was something that you could have put on a TV show. It didn't have to be a campaign. You could just
Nope.
show this as a movie and it'd have the same impact. Like there was something next level about the characters that they brought to life.
And I love how initially simple it started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Only 3 things. Link to the pilot, uphold the mission, and then protect the pilot. Nothing else. We just watched as he repeated those protocols over and over again until it got more intense. And you started to form an emotional bond between the two because they're working together really well. They're learning from each other. A little bit too much.
So before we get too far, I wanted to talk about when you open the game. I guess it was a trailer, because my boyfriend did say he thought he had seen this before as promotion for the game. I had never seen it, so the intro sequence of of Jack Cooper narrating what a pilot is. I have never been more like excited. I was like, these people are badass. This is so kick-ass. The animation is phenomenal. Like the story that they're showing just in this whatever 60 seconds it was phenomenal. Like that alone, as we've talked about on the show, I'm not somebody who gets into single player games very easily. I was finishing that campaign. That was it. I was sold from the minute. So like they tying back to the story that they were telling, like through and through, they had something special. Like, if you spend the money and you're sitting down and you get that far, like, you're probably playing it. But
It really is just a beautiful story. I mean,
Mhm.
there are so many ways you could write a buddy story or a story about trying to save the world, and this one just kind of seems to get all of them and do it well, which is just shocking for a first try or close to a first try. I'm not quite sure.
was this Respawn's first major campaign that they created?
It's the first one I'm aware of.
And they hit it out of the park. That's crazy.
Yeah. And they really didn't get nearly as much recognition as they should have.
No. And it's not a long campaign either.
No. Nope. I think
6
when we
hours is extremely short for the current market.
when we do look back on it and it's like, okay, if you're gonna go play this on Xbox, 6 hours for $60 is a little rough.
Yeah. You're getting
Not
an
saying it's
online
not worth it.
multiplayer, though.
It was
That
still
was
Yeah.
also they
multiplayer.
were selling.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we're looking at just the campaign. So now it's worth it.
Oh yeah, when it goes on sale for $5, grab it. Go to Steam right now. Todd Howard don't need your money.
Damn straight.
Respawn, you can make an argument.
Roll Tide. Sail chest.
Eh, kind of moving on to another topic, one of the things that I found most intriguing about this game, further than just story, because obviously story sounds like to us one of our top contenders for why this is so special.
Mhm.
Yes.
Second, the variability and the refreshing gameplay. The things
Yep.
you have to do, I think about. We've talked at length about how good the movement is. The wall
Mhm.
running mechanic is strong. If you've played Apex in the past, it'll feel like riding a bike. You run, you slide. The guns are the same. They're named differently, which I was like, why did we do that? But I don't know enough about the lore to understand if there's a reason behind that.
God,
But
it's what, a few hundred years?
except
Maybe-
characters are still around, so I don't know.
Rainbow.
Anyway,
There's a Titan missing.
uh,
Great.
sure is. But I want to talk about especially the sequence. It's about in the middle of the game when you're trying to uncover. Oh God, I'm gonna lose his name. What the scientist was trying to uncover, what the IMC was doing with the art
Yes.
tool. And you're
Yes.
going through the universe, what used to be essentially a university. The
Go on.
mechanic at the touch of a finger was insane.
Oh yeah, from an engine perspective, just being able to be like, cool, you're literally in one part of the map, and then they probably have to generate. So present would be over here, and the past would be over here, and they just have to simultaneously be like, cool, you're one side, one side, one side, one side, one side,
And you can switch it that fast.
and
It
it
doesn't-
feels flawless.
Yes.
They use it as a mechanic. There are certain times where, like, you're falling down a tube. You
Oh
have
my
to click
God.
it over and over again so that you don't get hit.
Oh my God. It's
So
so
they
good.
they use that to their advantage. In that section, I enjoyed using it because you could feel absolutely unstoppable.
Oh yeah.
You're in the past hanging out, random guys are shooting, you're like, fuck it. You go back to the present, you move around behind them, appear back in the past, and
Fire
start
4
moving on
rounds
a
and then go
takedown.
back.
And then you're gone again, and you just rotate. You never get shot. It's a great time. You feel unstoppable, and I love it.
I told Zach earlier, we did spend a little bit of time talking about this earlier, but I was talking about how when you get down to the lower parts of that level and you have to wall run by going in between worlds, because I tried to do it for a couple of times. I tried to just do it flat out in the past. And I was like, I don't think I can make that jump. And then I let the Ghost Runner do it because I was confused. And I watched them jump up and then jump into the abyss. and then jump off of the abyss back onto the wall, and my jaw hit the floor. I was like, you're shitting me that this is how this works. That is insane. Just the like, from an engine perspective, obviously, Zach, you have more of a knowledge on that than I do. I don't really fully have a grasp or an understanding on how game things work like that. But from a player perspective, who hasn't done a lot of single player campaigns in her time, was floored. That was the coolest thing. I was already geeking out. I was texting my boyfriend, like live tweeting. Like there was this locked door that I came up to. And if I just went back to the past, it was open. But so I walked through it, and then I just went back to the present, and I was through. It was, I don't have words. I can't think of the perfect word to describe just how floored I was by it. It was the most intriguing, fun thing I'd ever done in a single player campaign.
My knowledge of the engine would be either you have to have 2 identical places, and then you just move the whole character model and camera and everything from one to the other, or you'd have to do something like weird where like you had 2 different textures loaded in at the same time.
Which, I mean, there is that small not lag, but there is a moment where like you don't see anything. Like it does flash, so it does give the game time to move the character where it needs to be.
A lot of time, but time.
Yeah, enough
Either
for
way,
a computer or a machine to figure it out. It doesn't take too long for those things. I look, big fan of The Last of Us. Don't get me wrong. And I say that with my whole chest. I love those games. But I am so tired of single player campaigns where every single main mechanic is just crouch walking and being stealthy. I'm so sick of it. It is so boring. Let me do something fun. Time traveling through walls, super fun. It was refreshing. I don't want to sneak around and throw grenades. That's boring. I want to time travel. It's so cool. I'm done.
It is a very good mechanic. I can't disagree with that.
That was so cool. Ugh.
So I think to try and just wrap up our conversation.
Wrap up.
We've been at this for like, oh god,
we've been chatting for a minute.
An hour.
Not quite that long, but Apex came along, which it's teased in the game.
Don't even get me fucking started.
How was it teased in the game? What did I miss?
It used
Blisk, the main baddie.
Yeah.
Pulls out an Apex card and basically invites Cooper to the games.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, we were talking during that. I missed that whole conversation.
It would have happened just before.
I was texting. I remember. I actually vividly remember this because I sent a text message because it was a cutscene. So I was like, I'm just gonna do this real quick. And then I looked back and I went, I didn't hear what they said. That was probably important, but I can't go back now. So
okay, so because Nox missed it. So when your Titan falls, Blisk takes out an Apex card, and it's literally like drawn with the whole Predator logo and everything.
Yep.
And he basically says, "Yep, today's your lucky day. I'm not going to kill you because it's not in my contract." And he drops the card, slaps it, and says, "Let me know if you need a job."
That's crazy.
So
in a lot of ways, Apex became the sequel to Titanfall.
Oh, that's going to trigger Bandito. Go off, Cam.
I'm
Go
there.
get him.
You don't understand. I'm seething. We got that instead of Titanfall 3.
Yeah.
That is very upsetting.
Apex is more lucrative.
It's not, though. It's not in my eyes.
Microtransactions
EA would have some comments.
Will carry that to the day it dies.
Replace my PT.
I think it is so unfortunate that we had to choose between the two of those because on the one hand, Apex is a fun game. And it makes a boatload of money. I know it's not your favorite, but like it is a fun game, and it incorporates a lot of little things in Titanfall that helped make Titanfall great. But man, on the one hand, I would have loved a Titanfall 3 game. I would have loved to get to experience a new story in that world more than we get in Apex. Not a text blurb and some pictures and
If
maybe
that.
a video.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I'm almost glad. Titanfall 2 is special, and it almost feels like it's worth just letting it be.
See, I can't do that. I'll go insane.
I'm
I
so
need
in between
more.
these two opinions. Yeah.
I
I can go
need
so back and
more.
forth because I can understand where like like in my heart would love to have another story that hits that hard and that does that. But at the same time, not that I don't think anything could top it, because something could.
Yeah.
But it was so well done and so great in its first thing that I almost like that it is gonna sit untarnished. Like that is what it is.
That's fair.
Protocol 3, I will not lose another pilot, will never be tarnished. That'll just be what it is forever. There's some beauty in it. Like, although one thing.
Oh god.
So the end of the game has some really sad moments, some really touching moments, right? So when you're in after the ship goes down and you're captured by Blisk and Sloan.
Yep.
And they're interrogating you and BT to get the Ark out of BT's chest. That whole sequence is obviously very emotional, very heartwarming, but incredibly devastating at the same time. Especially the part where BT, like you're trying to walk out and BT calls you back and basically with his last breath essentially gives you his seer kit to get out. So really heartfelt moment, right? So I'm sitting on my boyfriend's couch last night and this scene is happening and I'm trying not to cry and he's experiencing it for the first time. And he takes the seer kit and he just walks into the fire. Do you want to know how to ruin a really heartwarming moment and a really devastating scene? Having to watch it all over again because that was the last checkpoint. I was like in shambles sitting there like, oh my God. And then I watched him walk into the fire and the scene started over and I went, we got to do this again. Just sitting there like, we get it. It happened already. Like, I just looked at him. I was like, the fire? He goes, I didn't see anywhere else out. Brother, there's a door. Anyway. But yes, I do think it is beautiful that there are so many things in this book and in this game that no sequel game will try to top. Yeah. There won't be any creators trying to top I will not lose another pilot. There's never going to be people trying to top Trust Me, Cooper. Like those things will stay as they are forever. And so will the Lego BT when it gets here. But I also would love more because I'm crazy and I always want more. It's the same reason that I watch authors run themselves into the ground every single day.
Yep.
As Bandito says, let it die. It'll be okay.
I don't think it needs to die. I think that's the beauty of it is that. So I talked a while back how I went and sat down and played the original Half-Life games.
You willingly did that?
Yeah. Knowing full well that Half-Life 3 is never going to happen. They were great games. The first one came out in 99?
Oh, looking up more stuff because I ask weird questions.
Yeah, I want to say it's 99.
98?
98. Okay,
98.
so, and I played it this year, 2024. So I played a 26-year-old game, and I had a blast. That game still was fun. It still played great. I still felt captured by the story. If Titanfall 2 lives in the same way I think that is something that's just a beautiful blessing. It's something that you can come back to in another 20 years and say, man, this is so fun. I'm excited to play this. Graphics don't matter. It's the gameplay and the story. And those things will live on.
Well, and the other thing, even when you think forward with graphics, obviously we don't know what's going to develop and what's going to be new as we age here, because technology seems to continuously get better. But I feel like, and maybe this is just I'm getting older, so I feel like everything else needs to stop because it's done innovating. I feel like we've made such technological advances, like we've got to slow down at some point. Like I feel like
we're done.
graphics.
This is it.
Shut up. I'm making a point. Anyway, back to my point. Like, I do feel like games like from this era will not have the same, like, oh, it's from the 90s effect, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like graphics are going to continue to be a little bit more stagnant. But maybe that's my off-based opinion, like I said. But I'm hoping we're able to come back to this, like you said, in 20 years and still enjoy it for what it is. And the graphics maybe will still look good.
I mean, luckily we have had some newer things that have happened with graphics. Have either of you happened to see the Quake demo with RTX?
No.
That's a game from around the same time as the first Half-Life, late 90s. But all they did was add ray tracing.
Huh.
And, like, the map still looks old, but it looks a lot better.
Oh, shout out to the Halo people for remastering those games. Those are crazy. Those go so hard.
Don't worry, we're going to do a whole episode on that.
Someone bought the Master Chief Collection today.
The whole 3 really hardcore Halo fans are fiending for that episode.
I think we're going to talk specifically about their
remasters
and how that was done.
But
any final comments we want to say? Anything?
I haven't cried this hard since Last of Us 2.
Bandito?
That's a hard... I'd have to agree with you. I think my issue with Apex, and there is one, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of issues with Apex. I think the biggest one I have is that I went in at the very beginning, when it first released, expecting a Titanfall 3. And that's not what I got. It is not Titanfall. It will not be Titanfall. It can touch it. It gets close, but it is not the same. Also, Viper's a bitch. He deserves exactly what he got. I don't care about his daughter.
Hardest boss in the game. Hardest boss in the game.
Fuck.
Die on that hill.
Yeah,
Also,
I absolutely agree. He deserved to die. I don't give a shit about his daughter. His ass is in the ground already. Who gives a fuck?
Is his daughter in it?
Yes, she's Valkyrie. Or whatever.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
Her kit is based off of his Titan.
Which makes sense. That's kind of crazy.
Fuck Viper. All my homies hate Viper.
Fun fact, in the Viper fight, BT can die, and you will just get a black screen with white text that says BT7274 died. Yeah, which is really jarring at 1 a.m.
It sits there on it for so long. Yeah. Yep.
Are there any other Titan connections to the Apex players?
Oh, there's a ton.
There's like all of.
I'll have to go look into it.
Up all across, but I'd have to look.
I mean, the big one is the character who appears in both.
Right. Which I want to know what technology they're using to not age then, because what the fuck? Where's the time? I needed. Oh, I thought you were talking about Blisk. Sorry.
No.
Ash does not age. Yes. I need a timeline. I need some designated lore. I need a 21 Pilots level drop. I need an I Am Clancy video to just tell me what's going on here, please. For those of you that get that reference, thank you.
It is not a 100-year difference like I thought. It is a 30-year difference.
It is only 30 years.
I was going to say I didn't think it was that long.
I don't know why I extended it in my head. 35 years, apparently. I didn't know we could get that specific, but there we are.
What planet do the Apex games take place on?
I mean, it's so the whole
Look it up,
assembly level.
'cause
Yeah.
that's weird question.
That's them building the Apex maps. I just
Yes, it
blew
is.
Max's mind.
Yes, it is. It's the houses that you. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh my god, I love it. I'm gonna go play Apex now
And enjoy it in a whole new light.
and still throw my mouse through my wall.
Yeah. As long as it's not through the monitor, you're good.
Well,
Or
the wall would win. I have cinder block if you cannot tell.
Fair. I think if I had to give my final thought, it would just be Protocol 3. Protect the pilot. Trust me, Cooper.
Oh my god, Ash's simulation up top is an Apex map.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much today. Fucking Matt Mercer.
He's everywhere.
Everywhere, dude. And now that I'm sitting here thinking, I'm sorry, I'm not over this. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I've seen videos of like the voice actors like at cons,
Mm-hmm.
like saying that is Matt Anyway, welcome to the real world, where we like to talk about things that are going on in our life that isn't video games. I'm gonna let someone else start us off while I continue my existential crisis. Either one of you, take it away.
What do you got, Bandito?
A whole lot of fucking nothing.
You want me to go first? Mine's
Yep.
short and simple. I got to get out of the office this week, which was really nice. I went on a helicopter for the first time ever.
The propane
was
didn't
really-
went out your spot this time.
No, the propane did not win out this time. Really interesting experience. Not what at all what I expected. I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed it. I'm a little jealous of my coworkers who get to go do that twice a week. But on the flip side, like, it was very. It's hard to describe. It's really hard to describe. It almost feels like it doesn't feel like you're floating, which I kind of felt like it would. Or like when you're in an elevator and you can kind of feel the G's.
Mm.
Didn't feel anything at all like that.
Interesting.
It almost just felt like you were on this like magic thing that just kind of rose into the sky.
That's sick.
I took some nice photos. I'm hoping at some point I'll actually be able to edit those.
Hell yeah. Those would be sick.
And if you're gonna do it somewhere pretty. Because I can imagine doing it in, a big city, and I'm sure that there would be a lot of wonder and magic in that, but flying over a river in Alaska, kind of the way to do it.
I'd imagine.
All right, you're
Bandito.
some hot girl shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you got?
No, busy my last. Oh god, it's been a few weeks. A little while ago, I got in a very small car accident. See, I happened to run over a tire. Shit happens. So over the past little bit, I have been fixing up. I'm aware. I know. I've been fixing up a 2008 Honda Odyssey, and that's been an experience. I know nothing about mechanics in any way. I now know far more than I want to know. And I fucking hate Honda because of it. My dad and I have been spending the past week fixing a dented and then later learning ruptured radiator and air condenser. And that was an experience. That was something.
You know the tire's supposed to stay on your car, right?
Usually, yes, but when it comes off of someone else's, you don't quite expect it.
Well, then you drive around it.
You'd think.
Did a semi drop one or what happened?
It was like, it was sideways in the road. I think the car in front of me went over it, but I was trapped on the highway. There were like 3 people on my left and 2 behind me riding my ass. I couldn't stop. So I slowed down to the best of my ability, and I took that fucker. And you best bet I went clear over it. It just clipped some of the tubing and took a bit out. Wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
Oh, I'm glad
So
you're
that was an
okay.
experience.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
I know you're still young. Just remember, you're not invincible.
So it would seem. And neither is I had a 2008 Honda Odyssey. They don't survive tires.
I'm sorry, what
No,
car do you
it
drive?
they're not built tough.
They're not built Ford
Nope.
if you will.
You say
You-
that?
You throw
And-
a paper plane, they might dent.
Nah, Hondas are pretty good.
I was gonna say,
honest.
Hondas
Not
are
the
actually
2008
shockingly-
Odyssey.
Okay. The shell may not be. The internals, you can beat the crap out of most of them.
Yeah. I somehow bent one of the main supports in the front.
Lovely.
Didn't think that was possible. Apparently, neither did my father. But I got it.
Good. Good.
Something.
It's okay. You haven't really damaged a car until you've sheared part of the frame.
I would do it.
It wasn't a car, but
For me, as I've shared on here, I do work in higher education at a university. It is that time of year again where they're all back. Which is great. But the weeks leading up and the days of them coming back are long. And so I don't really have anything to share. So I'll share with you a few little tidbits from my life in the last few weeks. One, don't get food poisoning. We'll start there. Wasn't fun. 2,
No.
Lunchables, turkey, and Americans still slap. Still really great. 3, take a book to work, always. You might need it. 4, crocheting is a great pastime if your brain wants to just shut off and you need to hold comfy yarn for a while. Gives you an excuse. And you get to make fun little stuffed animals. I am making a Psyduck right now, which is really cute. 5, download Hearthstone on your iPad. It makes going to bed a lot more fun.
For those
and
who watched
then-
last week's episode.
Yeah. And then my last one, get a fun little book subscription box that gives you the special editions. In the darkest of days, they do make them a little bit better. Thank you.
Well. On
Also,
that note-
Matt Mercer voices Cassidy, and that is insane.
What? Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed our discussion. We release these episodes weekly, but if that's not often enough for you, click the link down in the doobly-doo, join our Discord server. We are there way too often. We spend a lot of time there. If you have any thoughts or things you want to say to us, things that you think we should talk about on the show, or comments that you'd like to make, join us. Talk to us. We are listening. We want to be part of that discussion. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed, think about clicking that subscribe button. It's a stupid thing. I know every YouTuber does it. It's actually stupidly helpful, like you wouldn't believe.
And hit the bell icon.
Would really
get
appreciate it.
notifications.
I'm not going to ask you to do that. I'm not going to be that guy. But if you click the
87%
subscribe button,
of our
it actually
audience
helps.
doesn't actually subscribe to our channel.
Are you looking at the stats right now?
No, I'm just
Oh, okay.
repeating what everybody else says.
What everyone else does. Oh.
Only
the-
only 27% of viewers actually follow.
Oh, good God.
Bandito, thank you again for joining us.
Okay.
We did. I know this one was an easy sell for you.
Oh, definitely. Once I heard the topic, I was in. And besides,
But
someone has to be the
still
voice of
really
reason.
appreciate it. Thank you, everybody out there who's listening, and thank you for joining us. And we'll hope to see you in the next one. Bye.
I remember this time right away.
You did.
Yay.